They are working on it, and their progression is good, but obviously with what happened over the weekend, it's not enough.
Right now at 10, one person is injured after a shooting at Harmony Apartments. We'll hear from the police about the ongoing violence at that building.
Bringing the Latino community together, the local nonprofit giving young artists throughout Wisconsin a voice.
And the warning signs of scoliosis, why doctors say parents should be educated about the spinal condition. That is all coming up on News 3 Now at 10. Good evening, and thank you for joining us, everyone. I'm Sarah Carlson.
And I'm Eric Franke. One person recovering tonight after a shooting at the Harmony Apartments on Madison's east side.
It's the latest in a number of shootings that have happened at this location back in July of 2023. Devin Grant was shot and killed outside in the middle of the day.
That's right. Then months later, Kaisha Miller shot and killed outside the apartment, and 3 others were injured as well.
And now police say shots were fired inside the apartment complex on Milky Way near Milwaukee Street early Sunday morning. Our Maddie Heimsch spoke with police and local advocates about Sunday's incident and the overall status of the Harmony Apartments.
It's typical for police to respond to hundreds of calls for service at the Harmony Apartments every year, indicating a pattern of ongoing violence. But one local advocate and violence interventionist tells me Sunday morning's calls for shots fired were different.
This is not in that category.
Carmela Glenn is the violence intervention supervisor with Public Health Madison and Dane County.
Definitely an isolated incident.
Stephanie Fryer with the Madison Police Department tells me there has been a decrease in those incidents.
Calls for service to this complex have gone down, and I want to say that's mainly due to the amazing outreach work that's being done in the East District.
Glenn has been a prominent part of that outreach work. She's been involved with the Harmony Complex and its residents since October of 2023 and attends weekly meetings with the property owners and community members.
I think we're on a really great path with what we're building up over there.
While some may see the shots fired over the weekend as a regression in progress,
I think this is a party where there maybe was alcohol. I think things went wrong.
Glenn says she's seen successes in enforcing more active on-site management.
And them following through and showing up to meetings and really being on space and on campus.
And addressing physical infrastructure needs.
We have to be able to make sure there's transportation. We have to make sure that there's access to grocery. We have to make sure that there's access to green space.
Both agree that healing is a long process for a community like the Harmony.
Unhealthy places breed unhealthy behaviors.
People are still, nervous and frustrated with things.
And Glenn says she, of course, hopes those, quote, isolated incidents become fewer and farther between. But for now,
I don't think it's a step backwards. I think that what people will see is Harmony turning around.
Reporting in Madison, I'm Maddie Heimsch, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Maddie. The investigation into Sunday's shots fired is ongoing. The sole victim suffered injuries mainly to their hand.
Sun Prairie police are investigating after a bomb threat was left at a local Walmart. Police say they were called to the Walmart on McCoy Road a little after 4:30. An employee had located a note that contained the threat. The store was evacuated, and after a search, police say they did not find any suspicious devices. So far, there are no suspects in custody. If you have any information, you're asked to contact Sun Prairie Police's non-emergency line.
Well, the Madison area weather is staying calm for now.
But an alert day is in the forecast. Chief Meteorologist Alex Harrington joins us for the Weather Patio with more on what we can expect. Alex?
Yeah, Eric and Sarah, 48 hours from now, we'll have snow falling across southern Wisconsin, accumulating as well across much of the area. Before the accumulating snow, we're going to be looking at rain, thunderstorms, windy conditions. 1 or 2 of those storms could be on the stronger side as we go into Wednesday afternoon for parts of southern Wisconsin. Any of those storms that do become strong, if they do materialize on Wednesday, strong winds would be the main threat, but we're keeping an eye on, a close eye on the potential for hail. We can't rule out an isolated tornado, at least getting up to the Wisconsin-Illinois border. And snowfall totals here, 1, 2, maybe 3 inches of snow. Can't rule out an isolated 4-inch amount. And this will be of that slushy, wet variety, and the winds will reduce visibilities as we get into Wednesday evening as well. Nothing like that out here right now. Luck of the Irish, green shades, green colors here. 50 in Madison, 48 in Janesville, still hanging on to 55 right now in the Wisconsin River Valley and Boscobel. 51 to the west of Madison, 49 to the south and east down towards Edgerton. Coming up in Maine weather, temperatures are going to be a big part of the weather story. of who gets the rain and snow first and who might see the severe weather. I'll show you using FutureTrack in a few minutes.
All right, Alex, thank you. Tonight, the Belleville community standing up for those with special needs. And this comes after a meeting at the beginning of March where a village board member made comments about special education that many are calling insensitive and singled out one young man with special needs. At tonight's meeting, community members, teachers, and parents took the stand to speak to trustee Maxine Ward. In a March 3rd meeting, she questioned letting special education programs continue in Belleville schools, calling students with special needs, quote, special eds. She also singled out one Belleville man with special needs. He's 23-year-old Jacob Lloyd, and though he cannot talk about how he feels, his parents are speaking for him.
I was disappointed for sure. For sure. You know, because it's the village board, you know, you kind of expect that the people who represent your community are going to be, you know, people who are thinking, you know, proactively and constructively. The most important thing to remember about people like Jacob who have profound disabilities is that they're just people and they just want to live a fulfilling life like everybody else.
There you heard Jacob's dad, David Lloyd. He spoke at tonight's village board meeting saying Trustee Ward should resign from her position. Trustee Ward gave a long apology saying she didn't mean to offend anyone. Tuesday at 6, we'll bring you the full story on this village board meeting in Belleville and how the community is stepping up for those with special needs. Again, that's tomorrow on News 3 Now at 6.
A local nonprofit is working to promote Latino culture in Madison. Latinos Organizing for Understanding and Development is holding the Wisconsin Conference of Latino Arts and Culture. The conference will feature a gallery showcasing emerging Latino artists. The two-day event is focused on the critical role of the arts in the Latino community amidst today's challenges.
Culture is a part of who we are as Latinos, and as the speaker mentioned, it's a whole part of everything. There's not a separateness or there's not a dysfunction. It is all it's central to who we are, and we're here to make this country better.
The conference will take place on May 2nd and 3rd at Centro Hispano of Dane County.
Gold prices are reaching all-time highs and economic concerns as well. Friday, the price per pound reached $3,000. That's a new all-time high. Madison gold dealer Ricardo Paoli says the new record-setting high is based on feelings of fear globally as politics in Washington continue to make headlines.
A lot of uncertainty in the market. We just got done with a crazy 4 years with the last president. We're entering into a new crazy 4 years with a new president. He promised a bunch of stuff and he's everywhere.
Now, Paoli adds that for people hanging on to scrap metal gold, the increased value can help incentivize selling, while others who don't have any gold may look to buy.
Forever 21, the store has filed for bankruptcy again. It's the second time the retailer's U.S. operating company has filed in the past 6 years. The company cited increased competition from foreign retailers of fast fashion. It's been struggling in recent years to keep up with Chinese-owned retailers Shein and Temu, especially since online shopping boomed during the pandemic. And spending at U.S. retailers last month was much weaker than expected, a troubling sign that American shoppers could be starting to tap out. According to the Commerce Department, spending last month declined the most at department stores, restaurants and bars, and at gasoline stations. Meanwhile, sales were up online and at health stores, rising 2.4% and 1.7% respectively.
St. Patrick's Day, known for being one of the booziest days of the year, but a growing number of people are celebrating sober. For those who don't drink or don't care to drink, Sober Spaces are hosting events to honor Irish culture with music, dance, and storytelling. Even bar owners in Boston say they're seeing an uptick in demand for non-alcoholic beers, largely driven by younger crowds.
I see the difference in younger people drinking non-alcohol. Maybe people in their 30s to 40 age, I'd call that young now, would be drinking mocktails and non-alcohol beers, you know. Especially during the week, maybe when people have to be up early or have to focus on their career.
Now, polling by Gallup shows the current generation of young adults are drinking less than young adults in decades past.
Scoliosis affects around 7 million people in the U.S., so doctors are working to educate parents about the signs. Orthopedic surgeons say oftentimes mild scoliosis does not have any symptoms, and many cases may not require immediate treatment. So that's why parents need to be diligent. Doctors say the warning signs include uneven tops of shoulders, one hip appearing higher than the other, and changes in the shape of the spine.
We recommend screening in the 6th and the 8th grade because those are typically the times at which children are growing the fastest.
Doctors say the most important thing for parents to do is make sure kids see their doctor every year and be sure to get screened for scoliosis, or if monitored, mild scoliosis can be detected. There are often screenings done in schools as well. And coming up after the break, severe weather rocks the South and Midwest over the weekend.
Plus, the Trump administration's deportation efforts may be in some jeopardy. The recent order by a federal judge after a heated hearing. Stay with us.
You're watching News 3 Now at 10.
Investigators in the U.S. and the Dominican Republic continue their search after a student disappeared on spring break.
The last person investigators believe Sadishka Kananka was seen with is 22-year-old Joshua Reeb. He told police that both Kananki and himself entered the ocean early in the morning on March 6th and that a large wave swept her out to sea. Now, investigators are looking into all possibilities of what could have happened to the 20-year-old, including an accidental drowning or foul play. This remains a missing person case at this point, not a criminal investigation. A federal judge has ordered the Trump administration to disclose the details of this past weekend's deportation efforts.
Now, it follows a contentious hearing in Washington, D.C. Erica Brown reports from the White House.
Inside this D.C. federal courthouse, the Trump administration faced questions in a tense hearing about the deportation of 261 migrants to a notorious prison in El Salvador over the weekend. Judge James Boasberg ordered the deportations be temporarily blocked, but the Trump administration claimed the flights were already over international waters when the order came down. Monday, a lawyer with the Justice Department refused to answer questions about the deportation, citing national security concerns. Judge Boasberg seemed skeptical of the Justice Department's arguments, ordering the Trump administration provide more detail, including when they invoked the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, a wartime law allowing deportations without due process protections.
They have refused to give individuals the opportunity to show that they're not actually part of the gang.
The Trump administration claims some of the migrants deported had alleged gang ties, and the administration paid El Salvador $6 million to imprison them.
We removed terrorists. That should be a celebration. We removed terrorists from this country, and I stand by what the president did.
A federal judge ruled that the Trump administration has until noon Tuesday to provide more details about those deportation flights to El Salvador. Also Tuesday, President Trump says his administration will release 80,000 pages worth of files related to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy.
You've got a lot of reading. I don't believe we're going to redact anything.
And Trump is scheduled to have a call with Russian President Vladimir Putin as officials continue their push for a peace deal to end Russia's war with Ukraine. Erica Brown, CBS News, Washington.
And there will be another hearing on the deportation flights on Friday.
It was a weekend of severe and deadly weather for millions of Americans. At least 40 people across several states were killed by tornadoes, high wind, and wildfires. Winds up to 80 miles per hour gusted throughout the South and Midwest, so strong they tossed a school bus onto a building. Look at that in Alabama. One man took a video as a tornado passed over his house in southern Mississippi, something he doesn't plan to do in the future.
If they ever tell me a tornado coming again, I'm going the other way.
Well, the National Weather Service says that this severe weather will continue in some of the southern states there, too.
Yeah, they've had a mess down there, but it'll be a couple mild days for us. Some snow in the forecast. Here's Alex.
Yeah, our next set of alert day conditions, and that storm produced damaging winds, especially for areas south and east of Madison and Wisconsin. And we've got another set on the way for Wednesday and Wednesday night after a nice Tuesday. Isolated thunderstorms, some of those could actually be on the strong side. Changes over to snow and windy conditions by the time we get to Wednesday night. So first, to give you a glimpse of what that is all going to look like using Future Track, we'll march from Tuesday night. Showers develop by the time we get to Wednesday, 6 o'clock in the morning. They become more widespread as we head towards 8 o'clock. Again, those showers progressing, maybe an isolated thunderstorm at this time. As we head towards noon, though, keeping an eye out here, southwest Wisconsin, Madison, points to the south and east. We could be looking at a couple of thunderstorms that could be getting on the stronger side before cold air quickly funnels in behind the weather system, moving across, really right across the middle of the WISC viewing area. By 5 o'clock, already snowing in the Dells, Camp Douglas snowing, out towards Viroqua it's snowing, and it sweeps across the rest of the area. By the time we get to 10 o'clock, it's pretty much all snow for southern Wisconsin. Coming down moderate, maybe briefly heavy at times with strong winds too. So reduced visibilities are certainly something that you can expect if you have to do any driving later Wednesday night. By the time we get to the early morning rush hour on Thursday, still a little bit of leftover snow out there and gusty winds, but conditions will improve quickly on Thursday as the sun comes out, and that March sun's getting brighter, and that will start to melt some of that snow. Not looking at a big snowstorm at this point in time across southern Wisconsin, an inch, maybe 2 or 3 inches just southeast of Madison, and then off towards the north and towards the west. The really, really heavy snow stuff, that's happening up towards Eau Claire, over towards Minneapolis, where a considerable amount of snow may fall. Now here in southern Wisconsin, we need the water too. 3/4 of an inch to an inch. We'll take every drop of that to help out with our drought situation. And just one snap here as we look into Wednesday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I want to show you a big difference between our temperatures. Madison 56, 59 Mineral Point, 60 in Janesville. We have a frontal boundary here, and it's south of that frontal boundary where the best chance for a strong storm or two may pop up. 1 out of 5 risk across all of southern Wisconsin, but I really think that that's going to eye up Madison, Monroe to Janesville, over towards Jefferson, Janesville, and over towards Elkhorn as that weather system forms that a bit of a what's called a triple point by the time we get into the afternoon hours on Wednesday afternoon. Strong gusty winds would be the main threat if that materializes, although we're keeping a very close eye on the potential for a couple of tornadoes in the upper Midwest, provided we get warm enough and enough moisture up into southern Wisconsin. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully we can get through this weather event without any severe weather, but we're not going to escape the rain changing over to that slushy snow come Wednesday night with 1 to 3 inches of snow, a possibility across all of southern Wisconsin. Good stuff, though, here. We don't want to forget about Tuesday. High of 60 in Madison, 59 in Baraboo. A little bit warmer over southwest Wisconsin, 64 in Platteville. And again, a big difference in temperatures as we move on into Wednesday. High of 56 in Madison, but much colder to the northwest with all that rain and thunderstorms changing over to heavy wet snow Wednesday night. But we'll start the melting process by Thursday, and they'll continue as we head towards the end of the week. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're watching News 3 Now at 10.
Well, March Madness is back. The men's and women's brackets for this year's NCAA basketball tournament were revealed last night.
I get those brackets filled out, folks. The top seeds on the men's side are Auburn, Duke, Florida, and Houston. But this first round, well, it's all about the Cinderella teams. That starts tomorrow, including 4 teams that are making their first tournament appearances in school history. Meanwhile, the SEC setting a record. 14 of their 16 teams are going to the big dance. Auburn, the #1 overall seed, but some are looking at another team that might just win it all.
So I've been looking at momentum going into this tournament, and that stands out to me. And I look at Duke. You consider they won the ACC tournament, and without 2 of their top players being there, one of those being the presumed #1 overall pick in this year's NBA draft. I'm talking about Cooper Flagg. But the fact that you are without 2 of your top players, you're still playing to this level, shows their depth.
Now, in the women's bracket, the #1 seeds are UCLA, South Carolina, USC, and Texas. The Bruins are at the top for the first time in program history, and they knocked off South Carolina earlier this year, who held the top spot the past 3 years.
Despite a loss to Michigan yesterday, the Badger men are 3rd seed for the 24th NCAA tournament in the last 26 years of the Big Dance. The Badgers lost by 6 points. That was painful to 5th-ranked Michigan. Now they head to Denver this Thursday for their first-round matchup against the 14th-ranked Montana Grizzlies. And that game starts at 12:30 on TNT.
Now, News 3 Now, you're home for the NCAA tournament, bringing you 8 games this Thursday and Friday. Thursday morning, 11:15, the action tips off when former Badger Chucky Hepburn. The Louisville Cardinals will take on Creighton. That's a good one. At 1:50, Auburn will play the winner of the first-round matchup between St. Francis and Alabama State, the play-in game, as they used to call it. Then at 6:10, it's a face-off between Hall of Fame coaches John Calipari of Arkansas and Bill Self of Kansas. Former Badger A.J. Storr adding up some minutes these days for the Jayhawks. And then at 8:45, St. John's, Rick Pitino and Nebraska Omaha. We'll be right back.
Tonight, Colbert's got George Clooney.
Lovely to see you again, George. Thanks for stopping by.
All right, we have time for one more question.
CBS Tonight.
The first brown bear in the world to have brain surgery is making a remarkable recovery. Last year, Boki the bear was having seizures, so vets gave him an MRI scan that showed some fluid on his brain.
This is wonderful. In October, doctors put a stent between his brain and his abdomen to flush out the fluid and gave him pain medicine to take the edge off while he recovered. Doctors say Boki's brave battle has paid off. He is now symptom-free and able to bear the journey ahead. The surgeon who performed this did it once before, about 12 years ago, on a black bear who is believed to be the first bear ever to have the surgery. How awesome,
stuff,
sweet. I love to see that.
Amazing.
Alex O'Harrington is back with his green glasses on this St. Patrick's Day. You're good Irishman.
Good, about 50% of me is Irish. The rest is a bit German and mix a little bit.
Well, we celebrate that half of you another part of the year.
That's right. That's right.
We're all little mutts.
And we're all celebrating today's really mild temperatures. We got into the 50s today. Tomorrow we're going to do the 50s, if not low to mid 60s across southern Wisconsin. So we keep the luck of the Irish tomorrow, but not so much on Wednesday going into Wednesday night. Expecting a couple strong storms, a possibility. We'll keep a close eye on that. Hopefully Lake Michigan comes into our favor and keeps the severe weather threat to our south. But what we will not get away from is that slushy snow turning over as we go into Wednesday night, looking at perhaps 1 to maybe 3 inches of snow. But again, beautiful day tomorrow, alert day Wednesday. The First Run Weather Team will keep an all eye on that Wednesday weather system.
All right, Alex, thank you. Thanks for joining us for News 3 Now at 10.
Have a good night, everyone.